Episode 5: The Final Reckoning. 3 weeks after Dr. Walter Bailey's death, Los Angeles burned with scandal. The morning edition of the Los Angeles Examiner screamed, "Hollywood horror studio chiefs named in murder cover-up." Detective Ray Morrison sat in Police Chief William Parker's office, watching the most powerful man in the LAPD pace behind his desk like a caged animal. The appointment book from Sarah Chen's pocket contained detailed records of payments, services, and systematic cover-up that had allowed Dry Bailey to operate for years. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Parker demanded, his face flushed with rage. "Mayor Boren is breathing down my neck. Half the city council wants your badge. I've exposed a network of corruption that allowed a serial killer to operate with impunity for over a decade," Ray replied calmly. Parker slammed the appointment book down on his desk. "This book is dynamite, Morrison. It implicates everyone from studio heads to federal judges. If this goes public, when this goes public," Ray corrected, "the evidence is already with the district attorney." The door opened, and Victoria Sterling entered without knocking. She moved with confidence forged by surviving death, carrying a leather briefcase that made Chief Parker's eyes widen with recognition. "I have something that belongs to the city," Victoria said, setting the briefcase on Parker's desk. Elizabeth Short's complete evidence file. Everything she gathered on Dr. Bailey's operation, including recorded conversations with his clients. Parker's face went pale. "Recorded conversations?" Victoria opened the briefcase, revealing dozens of recording devices, photograph negatives, and typed transcripts. Elizabeth was thorough. She has Senator Morrison on tape, discussing how to make inconvenient actresses disappear. Studio Chief Jack Warner explaining his arrangement with Dr. Bailey to handle problem girls. "Jesus Christ," Parker breathed. Ray leaned forward. "It's all here, Chief. The entire network. Politicians who provided protection, studio executives who supplied victims, judges who dismissed missing person reports. Dr. Bailey wasn't working alone." Parker sank into his chair, suddenly looking aged. "Do you understand what this means? Half the city government will fall. The studios will be in chaos." "Good," Victoria said coldly. "Elizabeth Short died because this city decided her life was worth less than powerful men's convenience. 7 other girls died because nobody cared enough to investigate." Ray stood, placing his badge and gun on Parker's desk. "I'm done taking orders from corrupt officials. The evidence goes public tomorrow morning. Every newspaper, every federal agency that will listen. You're finished in this town, Morrison. I'll make sure you never work in law enforcement again. I don't care." Parker's voice took on a desperate edge. "Be reasonable. We can work something out. A promotion, a transfer. The evidence can be managed, some of it released. Enough to satisfy public outrage, but not everything." Victoria laughed without humor. "The same system that led Dry Bailey cut girls in half and display them like art? The system that covered up multiple murders because the victims were just ambitious young women who didn't matter. Those girls knew what they were getting into," Parker said. "They came to Hollywood willing to do anything for fame. They made their choices." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Ray and Victoria exchanged glances, both realizing Parker had just revealed himself as part of the conspiracy. "You knew," Ray said quietly. "You knew about Dr. Bailey's operation." Parker's silence was answer enough. Victoria produced a small recording device. "Thank you, Chief Parker. That confession will be very useful at your trial." Parker lunged for the device, but Ray was faster. The police chief crashed into his own desk, scattering papers across the floor. Among them, Ray saw crime scene photos from Elizabeth Short's murder. Photos that had never been released to investigators. "You've had evidence from the beginning," Ray realized. "You've been covering this up from day one." Parker slowly picked himself up, his carefully maintained facade cracking completely. "Do you think I had a choice? Do you know what these people are capable of? Senator Morrison didn't just make actresses disappear. He made cops disappear too. Judges, reporters, anyone who asked too many questions. So you let innocent women die to save your own skin. I survived. That's what matters in this city. That's the only thing that matters. Ray picked up his badge and gun from the desk. Not anymore. The final confrontation came 3 days later at the Coconut Grove nightclub, where Senator Morrison was hosting a fundraising dinner for his re-election campaign. Ray and Victoria entered through the kitchen, bypassing security with credentials provided by federal agents. The ballroom was filled with everyone who mattered in Los Angeles. Studio heads, politicians, judges, business leaders. All of them complicit in the network that had enabled Drive Bailey's crimes. Ray took the microphone from the bandleader, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Detective Ray Morrison. I'm here tonight to make some arrests in connection with the Elizabeth Short murder case and the systematic cover-up that followed. The room erupted in chaos. Men in expensive suits rushed toward exits, only to find them blocked by federal agents. Women screamed as tables overturned and champagne glasses shattered. Senator Morrison stood at the head table, his face a mask of rage and fear. You have no authority here, detective. No jurisdiction. Actually, I do. Victoria stepped up beside Ray. But she no longer wore the elegant dress of a socialite. She displayed the badge and credentials of a federal investigator. Special Agent Victoria Sterling, FBI. I've been undercover for 18 months, investigating corruption in the Los Angeles power structure. Ray stared at her in shock. FBI? Elizabeth Short was an informant. Victoria continued, her voice carrying over the chaos. She was working with federal authorities to expose the network of corruption that controlled this city. Her murder wasn't random. It was an assassination designed to silence her and send a message to anyone else who might consider cooperating with federal investigators. The truth hit Ray like a physical blow. Elizabeth hadn't just been a young woman seeking fame. She'd been a federal informant, working to bring down the very people who'd ultimately killed her. The pregnancy, the threats, the evidence. Gathering all of it had been part of a larger federal investigation. The appointment book, the recordings, the medical files, Victoria said, addressing the room full of terrified conspirators. All of it admissible in federal court. All of it enough to send every one of you to prison for the rest of your lives. Senator Morrison pulled a gun from inside his jacket, his face twisted with rage. You federal bastards think you can come into my city and destroy everything I've built? But Ray was ready. Morrison's shot went wild, shattering the crystal chandelier above and sending shards raining down on the screaming crowd. Ray's shot was true, catching Morrison center mass and sending him crashing backward into the ornate fountain. As federal agents moved through the room, making arrests, Ray found himself standing beside Victoria in the sudden quiet. How long have you been FBI? Ray asked. Since before we met, Victoria replied, her professional mask slipping to reveal the woman underneath. Elizabeth's death was my case from the beginning. I was supposed to protect her, and I failed. But you got justice for her in the end. Victoria looked around the room at the handcuffed politicians and studio executives. Justice. Yes, finally. 6 months later, Ray Morrison walked out of federal court in downtown Los Angeles. The trials were over. Senator Morrison was dead. Chief Parker was serving life in prison without possibility of parole. Studio head Jack Warner had died of a heart attack while awaiting trial. Dozens of others had been convicted, their careers and reputations destroyed. Elizabeth Short's murder was officially solved, her killers brought to justice. The city of Los Angeles had been shaken to its foundations, its power structure rebuilt from the ground up. Victoria was waiting for him on the courthouse steps, no longer Special Agent Sterling, but simply Victoria, a woman who'd seen justice done for her friend. What now? Ray asked. She smiled, and for the first time since he'd known her, it reached her eyes. Now we live. We survived something that was designed to destroy us, and we won. That has to be enough. As they walked away from the courthouse together, Ray thought about Elizabeth Short and the other victims. They were finally at peace, their deaths avenged, their killers punished. The Black Dahlia case was closed, but more importantly, the system that had enabled it was broken. In the City of Angels, justice had finally come to those who thought themselves above it. The end. Authors note this story is inspired by the real Black Dahlia murder case of 1947, one of Los Angeles' most famous unsolved crimes. While based on actual events, the characters and relationships depicted are fictional interpretations created for dramatic purposes. The real Elizabeth Short case remains officially unsolved to this day.